Well, things that we've noticed, and this is why the defense is going to try to paint my brother out to be a drug addict, and he was very dependent on drugs, and it's not true, because how can someone be dependent on drugs? And
March 2026, a private screening room in Los Angeles. Over 60 Jackson family members sit in total silence as the lights come up after the private cut of the massive Michael Jackson biopic. Suddenly, 71-year-old Jermaine Jackson, the eldest brother, shoots to his feet. He spins toward his sister Janet and explodes. "You are so jealous. Just get on the wave." The entire room freezes. That wasn't a movie scene. That was real. Jermaine Jackson, the legendary eldest member of the Jackson 5, the golden voice that started it all, the father of Jaafar Jackson, the man who's now playing Michael in the 2026 Hollywood blockbuster. But behind the bright lights of that Berlin red carpet premiere just days ago hides a family tragedy that has been bleeding for 40 years. Toxic marriages that keep exploding. A 1988 rape lawsuit still hanging over his head. Explosive jealousy and betrayal inside the family. And the deep loneliness of being the big brother who was never allowed to be the star. This isn't the sudden, tragic fall like Michael's. This is the slow, agonizing tragedy of jealousy, backstabbing, and wounds that refuse to heal. And right now, or in April 2026, the current situation unfolding inside the Jackson family will shock you to your core. Welcome to Black Legend. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the darkest chapters of Jermaine Jackson's life. If you want the raw truth mainstream media refuses to touch, smash that like button right now, subscribe to Black Legend, and turn on post notifications, because what you're about to hear is going to leave you speechless. Part 2. The Journey from Peak to Shadows. Let's rewind the tape, all the way back to the cracked sidewalks of Gary, Indiana, 1962. Picture a tiny, freezing house on Jackson Street. 9 kids crammed into 3 bedrooms. Joseph Jackson, a frustrated crane operator at the steel mill by day, failed blues guitarist by night, comes home every single evening with one mission: turn his sons into stars. No hugs, no "I love you," just a belt in one hand and a dream in the other. Little Jermaine. LaJeune Jackson, just 8 years old, already the tallest and the most serious of the brothers, stood at the front of that makeshift living room stage every night. Joseph would bark, again from the top. If Jermaine missed a note or a step, the buckle would fly. One night, a night Jermaine would later describe in hushed tones, Joseph lined them up for a 6-hour rehearsal. Michael, only 4 years old and barely tall enough to reach the microphone, kept stealing the spotlight with that impossible voice. Jermaine, voice cracking under pressure, tried to hold the lead. Joseph stopped the music cold. He walked straight up to 12-year-old Jermaine, eyes burning, and said the words that would echo for decades. "Boy, you better step it up, or that little one right there is going to take everything that's supposed to be yours." The belt cracked across Jermaine's back 3 times while the younger brothers watched in silence. Jermaine didn't cry out loud. He swallowed the tears, picked up the bass guitar his father had just bought him, and kept playing. That was the moment the seed was planted. The quiet, poisonous seed of jealousy that would grow for 40 years. By 1969, the Jackson 5 exploded. "I Want You Back" shot to number 1. Jermaine, now 15, was the official leader. The deep, smooth voice, the bass player, the one Berry Gordy at Motown called the future. They were Motown's golden boys, private jets, screaming fans, diamonds on their fingers. Jermaine walked those red carpets like he owned the world. But in 1975, everything cracked. The brothers wanted out of Motown. They craved creative freedom. Epic Records offered them the moon. Jermaine, however, was married to Hazel Gordy, Berry Gordy's own daughter. He had contracts, family ties, and a very different future in mind. While the rest of the Jackson Five packed their bags for Los Angeles and a new label, Jermaine stayed behind in Detroit. Imagine the scene, late 1975, a smoke-filled conference room at Motown headquarters in Detroit. The air is thick with tension and cigar smoke. Joseph Jackson slams his fist on the long oak table so hard the water glasses jump. "We're leaving Motown," he bellows. Jackie is on his feet, yelling, face red, pointing at Jermaine like he's the enemy. Tito and Marlon shift uncomfortably in their chairs. And Michael, already a solo supernova at 17, the boy the whole world was starting to worship, just stares at his big brother in pure disbelief, those wide eyes asking the silent question, "How could you?" Jermaine Jackson, 21 years old, stands completely alone at the far end of that table. No one beside him. His voice is steady, but cracking with emotion when he finally says the words that would change everything. "I'm staying. This is my path." The room goes dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. In that single heartbeat, the brothers felt betrayed. Jermaine felt abandoned. The first deep, bleeding wound in the Jackson family had been cut, and it would never, ever fully close. Solo career? He tried hard. In 1980, teamed with Stevie Wonder, Jermaine dropped "Let's Get Serious." It exploded, #1 R&B for the entire year, beating out even Michael's "Rock With You." For one shining summer, Jermaine Jackson was a star in his own right. He thought, "This is it. Finally, my time." Then Michael released Thriller. And just like that, the spotlight Jermaine had fought for since he was a scared kid in Gary disappeared overnight. Every award show, every magazine cover, every conversation became Michael, Michael, Michael. Jermaine's albums kept coming, but the world had already chosen its king. By 2009, the spotlight had turned into a funeral. When Michael died, something shifted inside Jermaine. The brother who had once been accused of jealousy became the family's loudest defender and storyteller. In 2011, he poured everything into the book You Are Not Alone. Michael, through a brother's eyes, raw, painful, and honest. And just 3 days ago, on April 9th, 2026, HarperCollins dropped the brand new edition. Fresh introduction, new stories. Written with the pride of a father whose own son, Jaafar, is now playing Michael on the biggest screen in the world. Jermaine thought the book would heal the family. Instead, it only reminded everyone how deep those old scars really run. From the belt in that freezing Gary living room, to the Motown boardroom betrayal, to the shadow of a brother who became bigger than music itself. Jermaine Jackson's journey from peak to shadows was never a sudden fall. It was a slow 40-year burn, but the real darkness, that was still coming. If this story already has you questioning everything you thought you knew about the Jackson family, smash that like button right now, subscribe to Black Legend, and turn on post notifications, because what happened next in Jermaine's life will shock you even more. Part 3. The Marital Hell and Family Betrayals. Now we step into the part of Jermaine Jackson's life that makes even the darkest Jackson family stories look tame. The marriages, the betrayals, the brother against brother knife fights that never left the headlines. It started like a fairy tale. December 15th, 1973. Beverly Hills Hotel. The wedding of the century, Ebony magazine called it. 20-year-old Jermaine Jackson stood at the altar in a custom tuxedo, marrying Hazel Gordy, the only daughter of Motown founder Berry Gordy. Cameras flashed. The entire music industry watched. For a kid who once got whipped in a freezing Gary living room, this felt like the ultimate victory. They had 3 kids, Jermaine Jr. in 77, Autumn Joy in 78, and Jamie in 87. But behind the diamond rings and private jets, the cracks were already forming. Jermaine started stepping out. Rumors of affairs swirled for years. Then came Margaret Maldonado, the woman who gave him 2 sons out of wedlock while he was still legally married. The humiliation became too much. In 1988, after 15 years, Hazel finally filed for divorce. The papers cited irreconcilable differences, but everyone in the family knew the real reason. Jermaine couldn't keep his eyes or hands off other women. The ink on those divorce papers was barely dry when Jermaine crossed a line that would poison the Jackson bloodline for decades. Her name was Alejandra Owaziaza, Colombian-born, stunning, and, here's the part that still makes people's jaws drop, she was the longtime girlfriend of Jermaine's own little brother, Randy. Alejandra and Randy had already had 2 children together, Genevieve in December 1989 and Randy Jr. in October 1992. They were building a life. But starting in 1991, Jermaine began a secret affair with her. Picture the scene in 1994. Randy walks into the family compound in Encino and hears whispers. He confronts Jermaine. Voices rise. Randy reportedly calls Alejandra a pig and his own brother a fool. The rest of the siblings are stunned into silence. Joseph Jackson, the iron-fisted patriarch, can't even control this one. Yet Jermaine doesn't stop. On March 18, 1995, he secretly marries Alejandra in a quiet ceremony. No big family wedding this time. No Motown glamour. Just 2 more sons, Jaafar in July 1996 and Jermaine in October 2000, born into a family already fractured beyond repair. Randy and Jermaine barely spoke for years. The cousins, who were also half-siblings, became living proof of the ultimate betrayal. By 2004, the second marriage was collapsing too. Jermaine filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The papers were finalized in 2008. Alejandra got physical custody. Jermaine was ordered to pay $3,000 a month in child support and settle $100,000 in her debts. She later accused him of abandoning the kids emotionally and financially. The tabloids had a field day. The Jackson brothers, they were barely on speaking terms. But Jermaine wasn't done yet. In 2004, right as the ink dried on his divorce from Alejandra, he married wife number 3, Halima Rashid. They lasted 12 years. Then came Thanksgiving weekend 2015, November 28th, 2015, their Los Angeles home. A screaming match erupts. According to police reports, Jermaine spit on Halima. She bit his leg in retaliation. Cops showed up. Halima was arrested on felony domestic violence charges, booked, and released on $50,000 bail. The case was eventually dropped because prosecutors couldn't figure out who was the real aggressor. 7 months later, on June 23, 2016, Halima filed for divorce. The official separation date she listed? The exact same day as that violent fight. By then, the pattern was crystal clear. 3 marriages, 3 explosive endings, and a trail of hurt children and bitter exes. And through it all, the brotherly jealousy never slept. In July 2012, after Michael's death, Jermaine joined Randy, Janet, and Rebbe in signing a blistering public letter. They called Michael's will fake, flawed, and fraudulent, demanded the executors step down, and accused the estate managers of mistreating their mother, Catherine. The letter exploded across every news outlet on the planet. For a few weeks, the entire Jackson empire looked like it was imploding. Then, on August 1, 2012, Jermaine suddenly reversed course. He retracted his signature, released a statement calling for peace and an olive branch, and said the whole thing should have stayed private. The damage was already done. The public saw the cracks. The siblings saw the flip-flopping. Trust inside the family shattered once again. Fast forward to right now, April 2026. Jermaine Jackson, 71 years old, is single. No new girlfriend announced. No new wedding bells. He lives quietly, focused on his son Jaafar's rising stardom in the Michael biopic and the upcoming Jackson Family Museum on the French Riviera. But the marriages, the affairs, the brotherly knife fights, and the public family wars have left permanent scars. This wasn't one big explosion. This was 40 years of slow, self-inflicted wounds, each one deeper than the last. And yet, the darkest chapter in Jermaine's story still hasn't been told. If you can't believe the brother who helped start the Jackson 5 empire lived through this much private hell, smash that like button right now, subscribe to Black Legend, and turn on post notifications. Part 5. The 2026 Biopic Explosion. Jermaine vs. Janet. April 10th, 2026. Berlin red carpet. Flashbulbs explode like fireworks. Jermaine Jackson, 71 years old, steps out in a sharp black suit, arm around his son Jaafar, the 25-year-old who just became Michael Jackson on the biggest screen in the world. Jackie Jackson is right beside them, all smiles for the cameras. The crowd cheers. Reporters scream questions. For one glittering night, the Jackson family looks united, triumphant, healed. But that smile, it was fake as hell. Because just weeks earlier, in a private Los Angeles screening room, the mask had already shattered. March 10th, 2026. Over 60 Jackson family members packed into a dimly lit theater. Catherine in the front row, blank-faced, the cousins scattered like uneasy pawns. The lights go down. The new cut of the Michael biopic rolls. Jaafar's performance fills the screen. The voice, the moves, the pain. For 2.5 hours, the room is silent, except for the music. Then the credits hit. The lights come up. Janet Jackson stands first. The room expects applause. Instead, she lets loose. Loud, raw, and ice cold. She rips into the film. The acting is off. The makeup cheap. The likeness to Michael nowhere near close enough. She doesn't whisper it. She says it straight to Jaafar's face, in front of everyone. The temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. Jermaine, sitting just rows behind her, feels the old poison rise. The same jealousy that started in that freezing Gary living room in 1962 is now boiling over in 2026. He shoots to his feet. His voice cracks with 40 years of buried rage. "You are so jealous, just get on the wave." The words hang in the air like a gunshot. Gasps ripple through the family. Janet freezes. Jermaine doesn't stop. He leans in, eyes locked on his little sister, and delivers the second blow. "You are going to miss this wave." Dead silence. Catherine looks like she might faint. Cousins stare at the floor. Jaafar stands there, caught between his father and his aunt. Security actually steps closer, ready to break up a physical fight that never quite happens. But the real war moved behind closed doors. Later that same night, the heated phone call exploded. Multiple family sources later confirmed it. Jermaine and Janet screaming at each other for nearly an hour. Old wounds ripped open. The Motown split. The will battles. The years Janet felt pushed aside while Jermaine tried to ride Michael's coattails through his own son. Janet reportedly told him he was using Jaafar to steal the spotlight he never got. Jermaine fired back that she was just bitter she wasn't center stage anymore. The next morning, the story leaked. Tabloids, social media, late-night shows, every outlet lit up. For the first time in years, the Jackson family civil war was no longer private. Now fast forward to that Berlin premiere on April 10th. The cameras captured the smiles, the hugs, the proud father moment between Jermaine and Jaafar. But look closer at the footage. Janet is nowhere. Paris Jackson, Michael's daughter, is also a no-show. No statement, no Instagram post, just empty seats where the most famous Jackson women should have been. Insiders say the family tried to spin it as scheduling conflicts. The truth? The drama was still red hot. Jermaine was accused of cashing in on his son's role to reclaim the spotlight he lost decades ago. Fans on social media tore him apart. He stayed at Motown and betrayed the group. Now he's using Jaafar to stay relevant. Others defended him. He's just a proud father protecting his son's big break. But behind the velvet ropes and designer suits, the real story is darker. This wasn't just Aunt V's nephew acting notes. This was the final crack in a family that has been fracturing since the belt came down in Gary. Jermaine thought producing the next Michael would finally make him the patriarch everyone respected. Instead, it exposed the one truth the world keeps forgetting. The Jackson empire was never built on love. It was built on control, competition, and a father who taught every son that only one could be king. Jermaine stood on that red carpet believing the wave had finally come for him. Janet stayed away, convinced the wave was drowning them all. And the rest of the family? They're still picking sides in private group chats and whispered phone calls. The biopic is supposed to celebrate Michael's legacy. Instead, in 2026, it became the mirror that showed every ugly scar the family still carries. This wasn't the happy Hollywood ending they sold on the red carpet. This was the latest chapter in a 40-year tragedy that refuses to end. If this raw, behind-the-curtain look at the 2026 Jackson family explosion already has your jaw on the floor, smash that like button right now, subscribe. Because the next chapter, the one the mainstream media is still scared to go all in on, is going to hit even harder. We'll see you in the shadow. Part 6. Current Life and Final Hopes. With the Berlin premiere lights still burning bright and the raw family drama from March still echoing across every headline, we now step into the present moment of Jermaine Jackson's life. April 12, 2026. Just 3 days after the world cracked open his new book. Jermaine Jackson, 71 years old, sits alone in a quiet Monaco hotel suite overlooking the glittering Mediterranean. The same man who once led the Jackson 5 onto the world stage now stares at the hardcover copy of You Are Not Alone, Michael Through a Brother's Eyes, the brand new edition that dropped on April 9th. Fresh introduction, fresh pain, fresh pride. He flips to the first page, the one where he writes about watching his son Jaafar become Michael on screen, and for a moment the room is completely silent except for the distant waves. But the silence doesn't last. Suddenly his jaw tightens, his fingers dig into the pages like claws. The same poisonous jealousy that has eaten at him for 60 years explodes behind his eyes. He slams the book shut with a violent crack that echoes off the marble walls. "You are so jealous," he mutters under his breath, repeating the exact words he hurled at Janet just weeks earlier in that Los Angeles screening room. The memory hits him like a slap. March 10th, 2026. 60 family members frozen in shock as he stood up and screamed at his own sister, "Just get on the wave." Now, alone in this million-dollar suite, paid for by the very fame he helped create but could never fully own, the rage boils over again. He snatches the book back open, eyes burning as he reads his own glowing words about Jaafar stepping into Michael's shoes. "My son," he whispers, voice cracking with a mix of triumph and bitterness. "Finally, someone carrying my blood to the throne I was never allowed to sit on." The truth crashes in, shocking even himself. All these years, he told the world he was proud of Michael, proud of Janet, proud of the empire. But deep down, the little boy from Gary who got the belt for not being good enough has never stopped hating how Michael stole every spotlight, every headline, every scream. Even now, at 71, with the biopic making his own son a star, Jermaine can't escape it. The book in his hands is supposed to be healing, a loving tribute. Yet every new sentence feels like another reminder that he was always the bridge, never the king. He stands up, paces to the balcony, the cool sea air hitting his face. For a second, he looks like he might hurl the book into the Mediterranean below. Instead, he grips it tighter, knuckles white, eyes wet with a rage so old and so deep it has become part of his bones. This is Jermaine Jackson in 2026, smiling for cameras by day, burning alive with the same jealousy by night. The waves keep rolling in, indifferent. And the man who helped birth the greatest pop dynasty in history still wonders why the world never screamed his name the loudest. This is Jermaine today, still healthy, still sharp, still moving. Just 2 days earlier, on April 10th, he walked the Berlin red carpet for the Michael biopic premiere, arm around Jaafar, smiling for every camera, doing interviews like the proud father the world wants to see. The Jacksons are still touring too. Shows booked through the summer, Copenhagen in May, Rotterdam, even a stop back in Staten Island. The brothers get on stage, hit those harmonies, and for 90 minutes, the old magic feels alive again. But look closer. On April 9th, the official book launch happened in a small Los Angeles bookstore. A handful of fans showed up. A couple of cousins. No Janet, no Paris, no big family gathering. Jermaine signed copies with that same calm smile he's perfected over 50 years. But insiders say when the cameras turned off, he sat in the back room for almost an hour, staring at the wall. One source close to the family whispered, he looked tired. Not physically, the other kind of tired. The kind that comes from always being the big brother who was never allowed to be the biggest star. That's the hidden angle nobody films. While the world celebrates the new book and the biopic, Jermaine is quietly building what he calls his final legacy project, the Jackson Museum on the French Riviera. He first revealed the plans back in December 2025 during a gala in Monaco. A traveling museum, not just a building, but a living monument. Over 120 never-before-seen paintings created by Michael himself. Hundreds more pieces of memorabilia, a $1.6 billion collection he's been protecting for years. The world premiere exhibition is scheduled for the Monaco Art Biennale, late 2026 or early 2027. Jermaine has spent the last few months flying back and forth, personally choosing the lighting, the layout, the way Michael's artwork will finally see daylight. In public, he calls it healing. In private, it feels like atonement. Because here's the quiet tragedy that hangs over every headline in April 2026. Jermaine Jackson has spent his entire life as the eldest brother, the leader, the one who held the family together through the Belt, the Motown split, the scandals, the funerals, and he still wakes up every morning knowing he was never the one the world screamed for. Michael took that crown. Janet took the spotlight after him. Jermaine was always the bridge, solid, reliable, but never the lightning. You can see the regret in the small things. After the Berlin premiere, while Jaafar partied with the cast, Jermaine slipped away early. No wild after-party, just room service and old family photos on his phone. Sources say he's been texting Randy more lately, the brother he once betrayed over Alejandra, trying to mend fences that have been broken longer than some of their own children have been alive. He talks about family unity in every interview now, but the empty seats at the private screenings and the missing Instagram posts from Janet tell the real story. Yet there is still hope in his voice when he speaks about the museum. In a recent sit-down, he said, "This isn't just about Michael. This is about all of us. The whole Jackson legacy finally in one place where the world can come and understand." For a man who once stayed at Motown while his brothers chased freedom, this feels like his way of saying, I was here too. I mattered too. 71 years old, 3 marriages behind him, a lifetime of headlines he wishes he could rewrite. And still, he keeps showing up, still touring, still writing, still planning that museum like a man racing against time to leave something beautiful behind before the final curtain. But the loneliness? It's there in the silence between the promo stops. In the way he looks at old footage of the Jackson 5 and lingers on his own face, the serious one in the back, bass guitar in hand, watching little Michael steal every heart in the room. This is the final chapter of Jermaine Jackson's life as it stands on April 12, 2026. Public triumph mixed with private ache. A man building monuments to the brother who outshined him, while quietly wondering if anyone will ever build one for the brother who held everything together. He still believes the wave is coming. The question is, will the rest of the family ride it with him? So here we are, April 12, 2026. Jermaine Jackson didn't die young like Michael. He didn't collapse behind the wheel like Tito. No sudden, shocking ending for the eldest brother. Instead, he lives on as the ultimate survivor, carrying a different kind of tragedy. A slow, 40-year ache of jealousy that began in a freezing Gary living room. Marriages that exploded in public. A 1988 rape lawsuit still hanging like a shadow. And family knives that keep twisting, even now, in 2026. He stands on red carpets smiling for his son. He signs books that reopen old wounds. He plans a grand Jackson museum on the French Riviera, dreaming it will finally bring peace. But the question lingers in the silence between every interview, every tour date, every private family chat. Will that museum and this Michael biopic finally heal the cracks in the Jackson bloodline, or will they only drive the fractures deeper? Because the Jackson legacy is still alive. The music, the moves, the myth. But the price has always been the same. Broken marriages, buried betrayals, and wounds that refuse to close, no matter how many spotlights they chase. Jermaine Jackson keeps showing up, still the big brother, still holding it all together, still wondering if anyone will ever see the man behind the bass guitar. And that is the quietest, most haunting tragedy of all. If this series left you staring at the screen, wondering how one family could carry so much pain and still shine, smash that like button right now, subscribe to Black Legend, and turn on post notifications, because the shadows never really end here. Until next time, stay curious, stay ruthless with the truth, and we'll see you in the next dark chapter.